The morning had been quiet. Too quiet. Jack Bauer sat on the porch of his safe house in rural Maryland, nursing a cup of coffee that had gone lukewarm an hour ago. The sun climbed higher over the tree line, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. He'd been retired for 18 months now. 18 months of silence, of solitude, of trying to remember what it felt like to be a man instead of a weapon. Some days he almost succeeded. His phone rang. The burner phone he'd given to exactly 3 people. He didn't answer it immediately. Jack had learned patience in his years away from the field. He let it ring twice more, listening to the sound like a distant alarm. When he finally picked up, he didn't bother with a greeting. "How did you get this number?" he asked. "Hello to you too, Jack." The voice was familiar, though he hadn't heard it in over a year. "Chloe O'Brien. We need you." "No. You haven't even heard what we need." "Doesn't matter," Jack said. He set his coffee cup down on the wooden railing. "I'm done, Chloe. We went through this before I left. I gave my word I wouldn't come back." There was a pause on the other end of the line. Jack could hear the ambient noise of CTU's operations center in the background, the low hum of computers, the urgent murmur of voices coordinating something he was no longer part of. "I wouldn't call if it wasn't critical," Chloe said. Her voice had changed. It carried a weight he recognized. Fear, barely masked by professionalism. "We intercepted communications 2 hours ago. Multiple targets. Coordinated. We're looking at something big, Jack. Something happening in the next 24 hours. Jack closed his eyes. He'd heard those words before, many times. They had a way of changing the trajectory of a life. "Call Palmer," Jack said. "Call Almeida. Call anyone in the directory." Palmer's in Beijing on assignment. Almeida's in hospital recovering from surgery. And Jack, the people we have here now, they're good, but they're not you. Not for this. Chloe's voice cracked slightly. "Just for a moment. I need you to come in, just to consult, just to help us get ahead of this." "Chloe, there's more," she continued, cutting him off before he could refuse again. "We've detected anomalies in our own system, data access that shouldn't have happened. Someone on the inside is feeding information out. We have a mole, Jack, and I don't know who to trust." The words hung in the air between them like a blade. Jack opened his eyes and looked out at the peaceful Maryland landscape. Somewhere in that quiet was a clock ticking down. Somewhere, people were planning something that would require the best operative CTU had ever produced. And somewhere inside that same agency, a traitor was working against them. "Where?" Jack asked. "CTU headquarters, downtown Los Angeles. We've already cleared your arrival. You'll come in through the south entrance. Security protocols are in place. I'll need a full briefing. Everything you have on the intercepts, the communications pattern, timing, suspected targets." "It's all waiting," Chloe said. Relief flooded her voice. "Thank you, Jack." He didn't say anything. He just ended the call and sat for a moment in the morning stillness, feeling the weight of the decision settle onto his shoulders like an old coat. The coffee had gone cold. He left it on the railing and went inside to pack. 4 hours later, Jack was in a car heading toward Los Angeles, watching the landscape blur past the windows. The drive gave him time to think, to prepare his mind for what he was walking into. 18 months of peace, erased in the span of a phone call. He'd known it wouldn't last. People like him didn't get peace. Peace was something other people had. The CTU headquarters looked exactly as he remembered it. The same steel and glass, the same security checkpoints, the same controlled chaos of people moving with purpose through hallways lined with classified information. Nothing changed here except the faces, and even some of those were familiar. Chloe met him at the operations center entrance. She looked tired. Her dark hair was pulled back severely, and there were shadows under her eyes that spoke of too many hours without sleep. But when she saw Jack, something in her expression shifted. Relief, yes, but also something else. The look of someone who just had a heavy burden lifted from their shoulders. "Thank you for coming," she said, extending her hand. Jack shook it. "Walk me through it." They moved into the operations center, and Chloe began laying out the intelligence. The intercepts had come from NSA feeds, chatter in 3 different languages, all pointing toward a coordinated operation. The time frame was tight, less than 24 hours from the time of intercept. The targets were unclear, but the sophistication of the planning suggested something far larger than a typical domestic threat. "We've been trying to trace the communications back to their source," Chloe explained, pulling up data streams on multiple monitors. "But here's where it gets complicated. Someone inside this building has been accessing files they shouldn't have access to. Personnel records, surveillance protocols, safe house locations. It's all been remotely accessed from terminals inside CTU." Jack studied the data. The access patterns were sophisticated, designed to avoid immediate detection. Whoever was doing this knew the system intimately. "How many people have access to those files?" he asked. "In operations? 12. In administration? Another 8. But Jack, here's the thing. The access is happening through Director Morrison's credentials." Jack felt something shift inside him. "Morrison? He's been dead for 6 months, cardiac arrest. But someone has his login credentials, and they're using them to pull information." Chloe's jaw tightened, which means either his account was never properly deactivated, or someone in this building stole his credentials before his death. What about the other directors, the administrative staff? All accounted for, all cleared. But Jack, if someone had access to Morrison's credentials before his death, they could have planned this months ago. They could have been positioning themselves, gathering intelligence, building toward this moment. Jack turned away from the monitors and looked out across the operations center. Dozens of people worked at desks and terminals, monitoring communications, tracking threats, trying to keep the nation safe. One of them was a traitor. One of them was feeding information to people planning something catastrophic. "I need a secure room," Jack said. "And I need a list of everyone who had contact with Morrison in the months before his death." "Already prepared," Chloe said. "I had a feeling you'd want to dig deep." As she led him toward the secure briefing room, Jack felt the old instincts awakening inside him. The part of him that had been dormant for 18 months. The part that knew how to hunt, how to see patterns in chaos, how to find the one thread that, when pulled, would unravel everything. The clock was ticking. 24 hours, maybe less. And somewhere in KTU, hidden among the people he was supposed to trust, was a mole who would do everything in their power to stop him from finding the truth.